Welcome back, data leaders, big data learners, and my dear friends, to mastering data clustering in Spark. 5 ways to cluster data in Spark SQL. Let's unleash the power of big data, shall we? Challenge at hand. There is a river of data flowing, and it is generated by real-time, random, and lots of activities that is going on in real world, and the data is generated. And it is full of insights, right? But how to gather the insights from those specific data points? It all starts by first of all categorizing them, clustering them, and then dividing them. One of the most easiest way to start categorizing is group by. We have been using group by. If you are from SQL, you have been using group by. If you are in Excel, you have been using lots of commands that is similar to group by using pivot table and various VLOOKUP, etc. In case of Spark, we are given superpowers. Literally, I tell you guys, you will see that we can use, there are 4 other ways you can actually partition, in fact divide the data and cluster it by using distribute and cluster by, and also partition and bucket by. So you will see all these things in action, and all of this you are going to see right inside the Kaggle notebook. You don't need a big data cluster to master all these things. So this is the key point of it. You don't need a cluster to master these specific activities. And in fact, in Kaggle notebook, you can understand a lot more easily what is going on beneath each of these commands. Once you understand that, I believe that you can take a lot of pain out of your day-to-day activity that you do in Spark SQL and big data activity. So what are we going to do? So first of all, we start with the data, right? We need to have a data. So I'll be sharing the data along with the the Kaggle notebook, and we will be explaining the commands. So you see that I am not giving any definitions here, so don't worry about that. This presentation is just to show you what we are going to do, and then we are going to discuss the commands and how we can make it into scripts, and if there is going to be any kind of troubleshooting and issues that is necessary, we will also discuss that. That will be the flow. Let's directly go into the PySpark notebook, the Kaggle notebook, and start digging in. As I told you, there is no requirement of cluster. I mean, we need clustering of the data, but we don't need big data cluster for doing it. So with that said, guys, the intention of this way of presenting the Kaggle notebook along with the data is to help you guys to practice. So take out the notebook. All you need to do is the link for this particular notebook will be given at the description of this YouTube video. So click on that. You will be getting your own notebook in Kaggle environment. Ensure that you have signed up in Kaggle before that, and you will get to work with the notebook and the data within no time, guys. With that said, I hope that you like the content, and do leave a like and share it with others. Subscribe to my channel for further big data as well as LangChain related videos. Let us proceed to the browser. Just a moment. If you are new to this series of big data related courses, I would suggest that take your big data cluster for a spin. This particular playlist contains this video also, and also a lot more other videos where you can actually get up to speed with Hadoop, Spark, and various other commands out there. And if you want to build your own cluster, or if you want to understand deeply about the cluster also, you can actually take a look at this playlist. So if you go through this, you will understand what I'm talking about. You will literally be able to see what goes on inside the EMR, the AWS EMR cluster. So take a dive and try to understand. It will be beneficial for you guys. Without further ado, let me start the Kaggle environment. So this is the notebook you will be getting once you fork the notebook. So when I give this link, so I'll be giving this link. This link I'll be sharing with you guys. Once you use that link, you will be getting the notebook as a web page, and once you fork it, then you will be able to start running it. Once you start running it, you will see that the execution, the draft environment starts, the Docker environment starts, and it has a very, very good RAM also. It has almost 20 GB of RAM, 30 GB of RAM. What we'll be doing is we'll start by working on the dataset. Okay, let me zoom in a bit so that you guys can see it easily. Yeah. So the dataset backup. So this is the series of dataset I'll be using. So I have been working on various datasets already. In that, I'll be working primarily on these two. So this is 120 MB of sales data, and this is 160 MB of another type of sales data. So there are other small files also. Since I am working on clustering, partitioning, etc., I wanted to work on a big file, and that will actually help you guys to understand the things better. So you see the Spark warehouse here. So this warehouse will get automatically created also. As I was telling, you don't need a big data cluster, Hadoop cluster, for most of the activities. Yes, there are certain activities you will still need Hive and Hadoop cluster, especially if the file is really big. So if the file is more than 40 GB, what I mean to say is that, for an example, if this file, so what I'm showing is 120 MB, okay, what if it is 50 GB? Then you cannot actually use this server at all. I mean, I cannot use this method. I have to use the cluster. As you start practicing, it is better to practice with the data that you can see. Once you are able to see the data, practice with it, and then you can start working with the data actually without seeing it. That is the main aim. So to work with the data without seeing it is the ultimate goal of mastery, right? So let us start. I'm going to create the session, Spark session with this. I will be explaining only the commands, so that it will be easy for you guys to directly dive in. And this, in order to execute the Kaggle notebook, all you need to do is press this play button. It will start executing. And in case of Kaggle notebook, we can do a couple of things here. I want to show that also. We can actually save the notebooks. We can say that we can either want to have persistence or no. So depending on that, the variables and the data inside the notebook will remain, or sometimes it will get vanished. So you have to decide whether you want to have persistence or not. Okay, keep that in mind when you are working on this. Kaggle environment is really good in this. So I really want everyone to also use it, at the same time also learn. So that is the main goal of this. First of all, let us work on the sales data set, the 120 MB file. I'm just going to read it, and I'll be showing it how the file is. So I'll be immediately creating the database called dmartdb. Okay, if the database is available, so it is always better that we always use this method. So I say that if not exists. When I do this, right, what will happen is, it will by default, if it is existing, right, it will not actually throw an error. So if I don't use this if not exist, then it will throw an error. Excuse me. So we have got the database right now. So database in case of Spark is basically a folder inside the Spark cluster. Now if you see my earlier discussions, I would have explained these things more elaborately. So you guys can take a look at that. And let us further continue on the discussion. So I'm going to create the sales view. So let me actually show the tables first. So you see that all these tables are available here. This is because I've already created this. So once I started doing this activity, I already created all these tables to ensure that it will save time when I am actually discussing this point, or else it will take a lot of time to write the data. So that's why I've already created it. So you see that when I use show tables, there is something called as is temporary. So the sales view is actually a temporary. So views are always temporary tables. So it says is temporary equal to 2. But I have created another 3 tables which are actually actual tables that I have created. So let us see it one by one. First, I want to introduce distributed by. Okay, so before we actually even go into distributed by, let us first of all see how this file looks. This file that we started using, right? Sales_csv. What is there inside this file? So how to find it out? So it's very simple. What we do is, we can do 2 ways. So the data frame way is to actually just show. So we actually don't even use select. You don't need to even use select. You can say 5 and you say truncate equal to I don't need to give truncate equal to false. Anyway, it will get truncated, and you will see by default I will get the table here. So that is how it works. And show is the method that you need to use. When I'm going to use SQL, so here you see that I have assigned spark.sql this to the variable SQL, so that it will be easier, or else I have to type spark.sql every time. And I'm going to execute SQL command. And also you see that I am using triple quotes so that I can actually I can break the commands like this. It will be more readable. And here I am taking couple of, I am trimming down the columns. I am only taking 5 columns so that it will be easier for you guys to understand what is going on. We are working on this GMV, MRP, unit sold, date and ID data. That is all we are doing, and we are only showing the first 2 columns. So if you are wondering, okay, what happened to the rest of the columns? Don't worry. And also if you are wondering that what is the number of rows in this, it's very simple. Let us ask sales raw.count. That will actually give me the total count. So it is almost 1,048,000 rows. Then here I am going to start using distributed by on GMV. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you 2 things. First of all, this cast is a way to cast the GMV file into integer. I want to show you guys what will happen if I don't cast it. So let me first show you that, because see, when I am showing everything to you here, I have already done the research. But when you are actually doing this practice, so as I always say, right, the intention is for you guys to practice. So I have to tell you how to practice also. So what I do is I actually go through each and every exploration step by step. So I decide, okay, first of all, what challenge I want to show or what challenge I want to practice. So I want to practice to work with distributed by, cluster by, etc. So then I need to decide, okay, which data set to use, and then I need to decide which column to use. So that is how, excuse me, that is how I start drilling down. The same way, when you are actually working on trying to practice, you might actually choose some other column or some other data set itself. So at that time, you will be surprised with the result it comes. Okay, so let me show you right now. I'm going to show 20 lines. Anyway, by default, it will show 20 lines. And here you see already I'm using 20 here. So even if I don't put 20 here, it will still show only 20 because I've already limited it. Let me execute this, and it is going to come from the sales underscore view. So you see that I have actually asked distribute by GMV. By default, what distribute by does is, it partitions the data, but it does not physically partition it. It partitions the table data and keeps it inside the table only. And it actually gives it in a consolidated fashion. But when you see here, it is actually not getting partitioned properly. There are some places it is partitioned, and again it is actually getting confused. So you see the 6003 is coming between 6749. This is happening because GMV is a string. It is not an integer. So this confusion is arising. So that is why I casted the GMV as integer, and then when I execute it, you will see a very different result. So you see the result here. So what happens is, the idea of converting the GMV to integer actually matters a lot. So understand this when you are casting it also. Okay, and also when you have null values, that will again confuse the integers again. So sometimes you have to also, so let us do this. If you have actually seen the earlier videos, you would have actually came across coalesce. So I'm going to coalesce the GMV null values to 0. Okay, and here also you see that still I am getting the null values. Why is that? Because what happens is, in case of this GMV value, there is no null values actually. So the string is having a space. All these things I have explained in the earlier videos. So that is why you are facing the problem in this distribute by. When you are working on messy data, okay, you will be working on messy data like this. So how will you manage it? So each and every step. So I have already casted it, I have coalesced it, but still I am not able to get the clustering properly. I am not able to get the distributed activity properly. This is the challenge that you will face when you are working in real data. Okay, and if you can solve these small challenges, and these are all small puzzles that you need to solve. So once you understand what is the power of what is the actual flaw inside the file, then you can actually solve that problem, and then you can come to distribute by. Next, introducing cluster by. Cluster by and distribute by is not very different. Only difference in case of distribute and cluster is, when you do cluster by, it will distribute it and then sort it. So it will be done together. So I am going to make the shuffle partition equal to 2 to actually reduce the number of partitions that is available. And then I am going to use cluster by now. And I am going to cluster by MRP. this one. So this value MRP is there. I'm going to cluster by that. And also, if you guys want to understand what is the data types, the easiest method is to use because I have not actually I have already explained these things in the earlier videos, so I am not given space to them here. But as I am explaining, I felt that okay, this is actually required. So you might be wondering, okay, why something is happening. So this is the reason. I told you GMV is string while MRP is integer. So you can take a look at that also by using print schema. And here we are going to use cluster by where it is. Yeah, here we are going to use cluster by, and we are going to use cluster by MRP. You might be wondering, see, MRP can it be a categorical value? You see, it can be a categorical value because there can be multiple products with value of 49 or value of 59, right? So you see that here, and also the same product can be sold hundreds of times also. So all those things can be used as categories, and we can cluster it. So you see that it is getting clustered appropriately with 49. So you can actually increase the number and also check it. Next, group by. No one needs an intro. So whether you are working in regular Excel or you are working in SQL, any kind of SQL you have worked till date, you must have come across group by. Group by, what it does is it actually clusters the data, but then it aggregates it. So it does a mathematical activity on top of the aggregation, the clustering, right? That is not what we are looking for. Okay, yes, it is useful for making charts, giving an overview, presenting the highlights to various people. But when you are doing EDA, when you are actually trying to understand and getting insights, you need to take a view of the data in a holistic fashion. And you don't want, so for an example, if there is 49, there is a MRP product with an MRP 49, but then you can see that there are many GMVs available. So there is 79, there is 60, there is 49. All these things will be missed if you actually do a group by. So then you will lose it entirely, right? This is what I was trying to say. Sometimes to get the holistic view, we have to avoid group by. So I'm just going to execute group by, but here what I'm doing is I am doing multiple activities. I am not just doing a simple group by. I am here you see that I am taking average of the MRP. I am going to group by based on GMV. Okay, first thing I am telling you that I am doing it on GMV. I am taking the average and then I am rounding it, and then here I am taking the multiplication of product of MRP and units sold, that is the sale value, and getting the total sales of particular GMV. All these things I am doing by using nesting of the functions and also multiple group by clauses here. Once I execute this, you will see that the GMV null value will actually come out also. So you see the GMV values are coming out here, and you can actually do a lot of activities here. You can use order by, you can use sort by, all those activities you can do here. You can take some other altogether some column, different column also. You can actually truncate this date. I will show you how to do that. You can use the date, you can use the ID, and you can inside this ID also you can do a lot of things. So there are many things inside this. It's not a simple ID here. Okay, so like this you can do a lot of additional practice also. And then this is about group by. Okay, till now group by, cluster by, and distributed by actually worked on the table, right? But it worked on the table or the view that you created. It did not create any new table or views. The next step that we are going to do, that is partitioning. The partition by and bucket by, what it will do is it will actually create original tables, and it will also create lots of files and folders. So when you are working on Kaggle on your notebook, be informed that it is going to take time. Do not cancel the run. Let the run execute. Okay, keep this in mind again. So I am showing you the print schema that I showed at the top. First and foremost, directly without even doing anything, after so the raw data, right? Where is the raw data? So I am reading the raw data, this raw data that I am reading from here. After I read it, I am taking it and I am actually writing it as a table. So how to do that? We can use write command. So I take sales underscore raw dot write and I use save as table. and I am using the partition by as GMV. So there is only single partition that I am using. There are the real way of doing partitioning is different. Okay, what will happen is when you are creating the table itself in Spark, or whether you are doing it in SQL also, once you create the table, when you are creating the table itself, you will mention, okay, based on which column you are going to partition it. But what we are doing here is little different. So we are importing the data from using PySpark and the read API, and then we are using that API to actually create tables. So this is little different route we are following, and this particular save as table has done a lot of internal activity. So I will show you what has happened in a couple of minutes, but let me execute this. So I am giving the name, the mode is overwrite, the partition by is GMV, the column name, and the format is Parquet, and I am going to execute this. The moment I execute this, I shouldn't have, but I executed it. The moment I executed this, what will happen is it will take all the data and it will start creating a new table. So it will start creating sales partition and it will overwrite it. So if you go up, I already told that the table is already available. So I told sales partition is available. I need not have created it. But since I was explaining, I actually clicked it. So what will happen is it will start working. So it will take considerable amount of time. In the meantime, I will also explain what will happen. So when you look at the partitions, so you will get the partitions, and here you can actually see what exactly has gone into the table. So this has to be reviewed. So let the execution complete, and I will come back to you. Just give it a little time. So it took some time, and it has completed it right now. Let me now actually use the show partition and show the partition that is already available in sales partition. So we can see that, okay, GMV from null to 10, 100,000, all these are available here. So if I give 50 here, you will see that there are lots of partitions. Okay, so I'm just showing only the 5 here, and I will also be showing the how the table is actually created. So when I use describe table extended, you will see the entire data. Okay, so you see the partition also, you see the entire columns, schema, etc. Okay, but see, yeah, there is a partition here, but how to use it and what is the benefit of this? The benefit actually comes in the way the file gets written. Okay, before I start going further, we will actually take the first file.csv. So the other file that I was telling, it is 200 MB file, and there I am going to again select couple of columns. I am not going to use all the columns, and let me actually see whether the data is available. Should be there. If not, yeah, the data is there actually. So if I execute this, I am not reading it specifically, the data is already there. And if I am using the select expression here, and I am splitting the date here. So this date, I am splitting it, and I am losing this time part of it, and I am leaving the rest of it, and you can see the output here. So this is how you do the date splitting. I'm not converting it into date. I'm leaving it as it is. It's okay. At the end of the day, we are going to work on other columns also. You can use this if you want. It will still work, because at the end of the day, strings are still unique, right? So it will still work because we have left the time out of the date. Then what I am doing is I am assigning this value to the new data frame, and then I am writing the data frame, but this time I am using 2 partitions. Okay, and this is going to take a lot more time. So I'm not going to execute this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you exactly what happens. Okay, so this is going to be fun. So let me actually show you. If you go here into the data, you will see that there is actually input and output. Okay, and inside the output you will have Kaggle_working. This is the only folder to which you have write access in Kaggle notebooks. Okay, it's a Docker notebook, Docker workspace, and you will have only access rights to this. And inside that Spark warehouse has been created, and the database will get created inside the Spark warehouse only. That is how it starts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use simple ls command and start actually looking at the folders. So you will see a lot of things happening here. So I'm going to execute this ls. It will not take a lot of time. You see what is happening? So all the partitions are actually folders. Okay, so if you want to see what is inside the folder, you can do that also. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one file, and you can execute these things inside the Kaggle notebook. So you can execute Linux commands inside Kaggle notebook. There is no any, you might be wondering, okay, can there be a folder with just an equal to sign like this? Actually, you can create folders with just a space or a tilde or anything in Linux. Okay, but it's little unnerving to look at it, but yeah, you can do it. And once you do that, you see inside there is actually Parquet files. Okay, so that is how the big data Spark cluster writes the files or writes the tables. So this is what I wanted you guys to actually understand. So in the partition, what happens is it actually creates the folders like this. Here I will not be able to show you the folders because it takes a lot of time to populate here, or else I can show you the folder itself. But this is also a very good way to tell you what is going on. And you can also show the partition for trimmed sales partition. So this one, so this particular table, there will be two names, sales name and GMV new, right? So you see by default I am getting sales name equal to bed / GMV new equal to 1000. So this is folder inside folder. So I am going to do an ls on trimmed _ sales partition. If I do a trim, you will see a lot of sales _ bed, BSD5, Diwali, big Diwali sale, and various other activities. And all these are folders. So if I go into this folder, you will see a lot of GMVs there. So I have actually truncated it. Okay. And inside these GMVs, again, there will be Parquet files. So you understood how the partition by is working, correct? Okay. Now coming to the final point, what is the difference between partition by and bucket by? Okay, sorry, I'm going up. I will go down. The difference between Parquet by and bucket by is very, very simple. In case of partition by, what happens is the file gets divided into small files, and it gets stored inside the folder in the recursive folders. But in case of bucket by, what will happen is it will not create any folders. It will actually just split the files. So if I take the trim sales and if I say write bucket by, I am going to give the sales name, but I am going to give buckets as 10. Okay, what will happen is I am going to save it again as a different, I am going to use a different table name. So once I execute this, you will see that, okay, first and foremost, it will say that already exists. So I need not have done that. And if I execute the ls, you will see that there are 10 Parquet files. So this is what I was telling. So this is the difference between the partition by and bucket by. And there are places where partition by is useful and there are places where bucket by is useful. Okay, especially when partition by is used for when you are working with a very large data, right? Reading the entire data becomes tough. So you have to first of all read the data step by step, and you can control it very easily if you are using partition. We will be seeing it in the next video. Okay, and also there are places where bucket by is also useful. So when you are going to share it with the world, you can use this bucket by. So once there are lots of Kaggle datasets, you will see that it is in Parquet format. Initially, I did not know from where this Parquet format started coming. But then after I started delving into big data, now I understand, okay, so this is where the Parquet by is coming. And okay, so you might be wondering, okay, Kamal, you did all this partition by and bucket by, but what are you going to use it for? You asked the right question. See, let us go back to the presentation. At this moment, I told you that we can cluster the data. Okay, but why will you cluster the data? You have to learn something out of it, right? So you will do a clustering of the data and you will share it with someone, or you will actually put it in the other database or other cluster. You want to do some your team might want to actually split some of the data which is sensitive and don't want to share the data with anybody. So all these things can be done in a very efficient fashion using all this clustering option that I have shown you. Again, challenge is what you have to first think about. You should not think about what is available in the tool. Tool will have everything. The tool is there. I mean, a tool is there to do from 0 to 100. It can do lots of things. But you should know what is your challenge and then decide, okay, I have this challenge, what the tool can do. And then you start working on that. So that is why I am, insisting. I am actually insisting you guys to practice everything still, because at that time you will understand, okay, for this kind of challenge, this kind of tool is properly working. And you will know in reality, okay, I have done it, I have tried it, it has worked, or it has failed, and I face these problems, and you learn more. So that is the intention of, insisting again that you practice. And also I have given the data set and the Kaggle notebook itself, so that the environment is fixed for you. So there is nothing that can hinder you, because I have seen a lot of challenges when it comes to learning big data, data analytics, data engineering, etc. The first and foremost challenge is the data. If you search for the data, you will not be able to get the command right. If you search for the commands, you will not be able to get the data properly. All these challenges I had faced, and I wanted to remove this and give a easiest way for you guys to work with big data as well as data engineering and data analytics. I hope that you like this kind of videos, and do leave a like, subscribe to my channel, so that further big data as well as LangChain, ChatGPT related videos will get uploaded to your YouTube dashboard directly. With that said, as usual, 4 words before I leave: practice, 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 practice.